distinguished guests, the Vice Chancellor, Deans of the faculties, heads of departments, academic and non-academic staff members, and friends, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to you to the poetry book launch of Prof. Dilkushi Senaratne's Here and Now, a Spiritual Journey. On behalf of Prof. Dilkushi Senaratne, I'd like to call upon the guest speaker of today's event, Ms. Madhubashini Disanayaka, the former head of EFU, University of Jayawardenepura, to deliver her speech. Just to introduce Ms. Madhubashini, she's an academic, a writer, and a musician. She's well known among the academic circles for her novel, I Have Something to Tell You, which won the Gratian Prize in 2011. Please give a round of applause welcoming Ms. Disanayaka to the podium.
Okay, so I'll have to speak without mics, right? Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. First, Prof. Dilkushi, let me thank you for inviting me. I'm very proud to be here. We are very proud of Dilkushi simply because, as far as I know, you are the only professor in the ESU system. So we are very proud of her as a human being. And for me to realize that she was a poet was quite surprising. So I'm going to go right into my speech because I am going to be talking about alternate reality, of which finding you were a poet was one. So, I have always believed in alternate realities. That is, while we live in one plane of existence, like this one, here, now, while we eat, sleep, rush to work, rush back from work, drop children to and from school, go crazy running what we call the rat race, we also dimly sense that there must be something else, something more meaningful, somewhere alongside all this. There has to be, we surmise, and yet we run the race breathlessly. That is what life is, we tell ourselves. That is what we all undergo, whether we like it or not. And then suddenly, with some of us, there comes a glimpse of another reality, a far more truthful and deep reality than the one we exist on the surface. This is the reality that great spiritual leaders talk about, the philosophy most religions speak of, and the one we as Buddhists are aware of from birth. Hearing from childhood the phrases, everything is impermanent, all life is sorrow, and so on. Some of us stop there and listen and see, like a light from a great distance, an alternate reality that puts everything, that is everything we are involved with at present, in perspective. For that brief moment, we realize that all this rush and passion is unnecessary, that these heartbreaks are trivial, that this stress keeping us on our toes are really of no consequence. Most of us see this. We take a deep breath, consider this, and then we forget about it. We move on. That bright but distant light that we saw, we do not pursue. We join with the same passion, the same stress, the same heartbreak, life as usual. But then some, like Dilkushi Senaratne, do not do this. They do not take their eyes off that light. While they exist in one plane, they also exist on another.
in a dimension in which they can ask the really important questions in life, like the point of it, and realize the fleetingness and death encapsulated in each moment, the pointlessness of almost everything we do in the more common plane of existence. In it, she knows how, at the blink of an eyelid, the entire world can change. She knows of life hanging like a sword above our heads. She knows the lie of linear time. The future is here and now, she says. She knows the value of emptiness. From emptiness you will rise to the bliss of eternal happiness. In these small phrases that I have quoted from her poems are captured the strains of a priceless Dhamma. Take that last phrase, for example, emptiness, the lack of desire, the ending of tanha, the only way in which we can attain nirvana. This is what poetry does. Says in a few words some things that can be explained by whole books. Poetry does it more simply. The impact, however, is not less. It is perhaps more. Dilkushi is not one of those who only have the gift of existing in two planes at the same time. She also has the gift of giving. The peace that has been gifted to her, she doesn't keep to herself. She chose to give this gift to others. In that way, she becomes a true Buddhist. For we believe in Sabbadanam Dhammadanam Jinati. This book, Here and Now, is that gift. As much as it is a gift of poetry, it is also a gift of the Dhamma. In it, we see her desire to share what she sees with others. Have you noticed? Is a question she keeps repeating in one poem. But the desire to share what she knows is found in many of the philosophic thoughts that are at the heart of her poems. The task of literature, I believe, is to leave the reader a little better than at the start of the book, poem, or whatever it is found him or her. If we take what Dilkushi has to say in this book to heart, all of us will be thus improved. Not just improved, but possessors of a knowledge that can only be a blessing. And for that gift, we are grateful to her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Madhukasha Ratnayaka, for giving an insight to the profundity of the phrase here and now and connecting it to the poems of Prof. Dilkushi. Next, I'd like to call upon our guest of honor, Mr. Sudat Jayasundara, who is a lawyer and the chairperson of Shraddha TV, to deliver his reviews on Here and Now. Over to you, sir.
අවසරයි සත්‍යවත්යෙන්ද අවසර මේ අවස්ථාවේදී මගේ තිබෙන්නේ යම් කිසි දෙයක් මේ සම්බන්ධව කතා කරන්න. So from now on I will be talking in English, in fact, because this series of poems that have been given has been written in English, and in fact I had to go to the law library and go through this morning because I didn't have the time, but I was really taken up with the subject matter because we have been talking about this for a very long time, and I think I have done a few programs on this. And what actually drew my attention was this consciousness. And where we talk of consciousness, where we talk of eye consciousness, ear consciousness, thought consciousness, so on and so forth, it goes like the six consciousness. Now where is this conscience? Where is it? How does it elude us? And how can we sort of, if we are to grasp consciousness, where it happens, there is knowing. But knowing, how do you know things? Why are you getting attracted to these things? Now you see something as an object, your eye takes to the object and the consciousness comes into you. We call it Tinna Sangati Passo. And similarly, that is where your faculties basically take you into an external object, and that external object creates a thought formation inside of you, and you get attracted to that particular thing, subject, object. Either you get attracted in so many ways. You either get a liking or disliking to it. This happens somewhat with, maybe if you go back, maybe with the previous births, what you have accumulated, the karma that would manifest in that form where your eye might treat a certain subject with want or without want. But how can you get out of this cycle? So this is the thing that actually this consciousness factor was bothering me also, and still it keeps bothering, as to how this one should come out of it. I have heard a lot of people talking about getting into the market, and in order to know about it and have this satya and virya inside of you, you try, you have the effort, but in order to have this mindfulness is there. But this subject, of course, as to how you can take hold of this consciousness, and to whether we could sort of break this consciousness where it calls mind, because what this whole thing put together gives you the I concept, where you say it's mine and I want it, I need it, and then I think she has come to the other, in another poem that she has given that talks about tanha. So this I concept goes on to have this tanha within you, craving inside, the desire, the liking. So things as to how to empty yourself of consciousness, I suppose, is the most important thing. And this is where we call Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara and Vijnana. We have been speaking about name and form. At this stage I will say only name and form without going into the other things, because time is not too good for me to talk about Dhamma. People might fall asleep in the way also, so I have to keep it very light. And about this Nama and Rupa, which is, I think, is the most important thing, because one cannot exist without the other. So the Rupa has to be there and the Nama. So what is this? So where you have the suffering, you feel it. But how do you feel it? Because of your thought faculties, the faculty that I was talking about, that gives you the suffering. Either enjoyment, suffering means not only pain, maybe desire, which leads, because it's not permanent, everything is conditioned. One has to be mindful of the fact, because one thought that gives you happiness, next moment will be suffering, because once you have it, when you lose it, you have no control on it. So because you don't have control, that's where we lack. We try hard to control things, but it deludes. We cannot hold on to things and keep it permanent. So all conditioned things change, and it's in a flux. So we have to know as to how to treat this, and treating it is something which is very important. And is it through Shraddha we get into this? This is another area. I think I am bringing so many things into aspects into one. But what I want to tell you is that mostly now this book, I feel, is basically done on an analysis where she herself had experienced something. Because some people, or some have this saying that is Shraddha, the faith that one has to have. First, you have to inculcate and cultivate within yourself the Shraddha. But is it from Shraddha you go on to the analytical side of it, or you analyze it and then come to Shraddha? Which way does it work? So this is something, because I was not a person of Shraddha material, because it was totally different to me. But what happened was, when I was analyzing, and I was doing some programs, and I was talking to some people several months, and then they were talking to me about this, as to how one should fall in. One school of thought was, you have to have Shraddha in you. Without that discipline, that you cannot get onto the market. On the other side, it was the analytical side of it, but then the question is that, will you be on the path itself? Because if you do not have the Shraddha, that you do not command the effort that one has to have, because then if some obstacle happens, and if you are taken out of it, then you lose your way. So Shraddha, I feel that Shraddha and the analytical side of it, both should be something which we should cultivate together, not separate. So this type of thing should attribute, I suppose, with mindfulness being cultivated every minute, knowing that everything, you live in the present, here and now, and then your thought disseminations, your propagation of thoughts, everything could be controlled in that fashion. So you will not have some hope for tomorrow, but without it I don't think that anyone will come to do even for employment or jobs, nothing will happen. So that's the other thing. So when you say that you have to be there here and now as to how to take this, and always the thoughts either take you back or to the future. So right now I am standing here and I may be thinking of something else, not Dilkushi's book. So that's the problem. So as to how I could control this is something that we as Buddhists, as to how we should tackle the situation, the nama rupa, the combination of it, and the faculties when it works, as to the attachment and the craving that it gives, which I suppose if you really get into the dependent origination, there Paticca will lead you on to the aspects as to how these things could go from one bhavya to the next bhavya and now take control of, but as to how the reverse process of it, we have to somehow find in our lifetime, and we have the most venerable monks with us who will be able to guide us, and Dilkushi has given us an insight to it, a little bit of an insight which I think is an eye-opener for all of us, and she has, I think, would have spent a lot of time on this because it's not that easy to create something like this. And so once again, it's, I think, a great effort by you, and is a huge contribution towards Dhamma, and especially when it comes in English also, it gives something, I suppose, to a wider audience. You could reach a wider audience with it, but at the same time, you should also have this in Sinhala. So I think that's most needed. So next time, if you could, it's translation problem. So when you have it in Sinhala, I'll come and give a speech again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacinth. Reverend sirs, ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the highlight of today's events, and that is the book launch. First, Reverend Professor Kulupitiya Mahinda Sangarakita Thera, who is the chief incumbent of the Kalaniya Raja Mahavihara, will be presented a copy of the poetry book, and Professor Dilkushi will be doing the honors. Next, Venerable Dr. Damadasi Thero, Director ICCMS, will be presented a copy of the text. Then, the Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Sunanda Madhava Bandara, will be presented a copy. Next, I'd like to call upon the Deans, Dean Faculty of Humanities, Professor Lakshman Senaratne, Dean Faculty of Science, Professor Patrick Senaratne, and Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor A.H.M.H. Aberatne, to receive their copies of the text. And the Dean Faculty of Graduate Studies, Professor Kulasi. Thank you very much. You must be all wondering what's inside the text, or rather inside this poetry collection. So we have a few people who are going to read us a few poems out of this newly launched book. And I'd like to call upon Ms. Maheshi Ranavira, the head of ELTU, and Ms. Irushi Penakon to do the honors.
Irushi, my colleague, and I have chosen 4 poems that have spoken to us. They are special to us because they speak about everyday mundane things, but in that there's a reality that is very, very certain. So that has attracted the two of us to these poems. Have you noticed? Have you ever been awakened by death? when morning turns into evening and then into night. Haven't you noticed how time died right before your eyes? Death in the darkness of the night, surrounding the misty unreality of life, hanging like a sword over our heads. And when each minute gives way to the next, have you noticed how minutes slipped away, ticking and ticking after each breath you take? Have you thought about it as death, my friend? Haven't you noticed the end in a star, in a dewdrop, in the breath when they blink? Have you noticed how dead they are, each blink rising and falling? When the sun shines, have you seen the sadness when the dew dies at the blink of an eyelid? The entire world changes. Every time, every second, have you noticed the world dying in each passing day and in each passing moment, in each breath we take? That life is actually held so subtly between two breaths. Have you noticed? The picture. That was a picture, flickering and glimmering in the scorching sun. Even the moon cannot dim its glow, lit by a million lights, a trillion lights, a million and a trillion, so beautiful and captivating, mesmerizing everyone who sets their eyes. Of different colors, of different shades, blinking, splashing day by day. So quick, so fast, so hasty to change. No picture can match its force. But that's not true, said a wise dame. The picture is but a firefly's light when compared with the human mind, always flickering, overarching, trying to capture the slightest bone, the ears, the eyes through nostrils, through taste, through touch, through thought, using every outlet to bring in colors. The picture of the mind always comes alive, not a moment is wasted, to create lifetimes over and over. And yes, we have seen this picture. Visible it is everywhere today. Look around us, the fantasies of our thoughts, the pictures, everywhere, every day. Kamastanam. A word penetrates the veil of illusion. A flame flickers, grows brighter, diminishes. A piece of cloth rubs and changes color. A movement, walking, standing, or lying down. A picture, a beautiful dancer, dying the next moment. Sadness of losing loved ones, disillusionment of pain and separation, betrayal of trust and expectations, loss of hope in the future. The truth of life can be realized when confronted with death, old age, and sickness. And for the final poem, the final reading rather, I've chosen one called Passion. Passion rises like molten lava, burning brighter with each passing moment, spewing shrapnel, fiery fires, spreading, destroying, burning, turning minds into ashes and smoke, deceitful, cunning, and sparing no one. Nothing can overcome its destructive force. In its wake, only total destruction. Devastation is only goal. Capturing, smothering, suffocating, all in its path, drawing everything to a close. Passion rises, then diminishes. The moment is burnt by its devious force. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chamindi and Dilkushi. Finally, to deliver the vote of thanks, I'd like to call upon the author of the poetry book, Prof. Dilkushi Senaratne, to the podium.
Thank you, Hasid sir. Venerable sirs,
Vice Chancellor, Deans of Faculties, Ms. Madhvashi Disanaka, my very good friend, the guest speaker, Mr. Surat Dasindra, my good friend, my dear friends and colleagues, students. I am deeply humbled today with your presence. Before my official vote of thanks, I'd like to share some thoughts about this book which I had written and which is up on sale today. This book is a collection of poems that I shared, that I actually started writing when I was reading for my PhD in the Netherlands. They were inspired by the sermons I listened to and my own responses to certain events in life. I believe life is in this very moment, caught between two breaths. Almost all of the time, we lose sight of it. We do not realize that our thoughts are always dragging us either to the past or to the future. Prapancha, we call it. A conclusion of the past, present and the future. In all of this chaos, the present moment is lost. This is the theme of my book, Here and Now. It is not easy to talk about religious topics when you are an English academic. But I was and am still a part of a circle of friends with similar interests. The topic of most of our conversations revolve around the sutras, the Buddha's teachings and his experiences. It was during this time that I got the rarest of rare opportunities to listen to Venerable Koswatte Arya Vimala Thero at the Kalaniya Rajamaha Viharaya. His sermons inspired me to write the first poem in the book, The Word. The underlying theme of the poem that I wanted to convey is that Buddhism is so much about listening and listening intently. We as language teachers know how important listening is as a skill. All what we have today or what the Buddha taught was first heard, not written down. Listening is such an important skill and has a huge impact on the development of wisdom and memory. Most of the poems in the book have either the Buddha or his disciples as inspiration. Kamasthana expresses the enlightenment of many of Buddha's disciples. The poem, A Father's Love, is about King Bimbisara. And Forgiven is about King Ajasatta. If I am to pick the favorite poem, it would be To Be Born in the Land. This poem is a celebration of my country, an appreciation about the faith I'm born into and everything that surrounds me at this moment in time. All of you are included. I feel truly blessed to be born in Sri Lanka, and the poem is an expression of my gratitude and appreciation. Green and Brown is the story of impermanence. It was inspired by a sermon given by Venerable Katkulunde Jnanananda Thero. I just hope that readers will be inspired by poetry, by the poetry in the book, and that they will make a difference in their lives. In conclusion, I would like to acknowledge all those who have made the writing of this book possible. I wish to thank Venerable Koswatte Arya Vimala Thero, even though he isn't here today. Words aren't sufficient to express my gratitude to him. I thank Venerable Mahinda Thero, Venerable Damadasi Thero, and Venerable Katkulunde Thero, also Venerable Medankara Thero of the Malvatta Temple. I thank the Vice Chancellor of the University of Kalaniya. Dear Sir, thank you so much for everything, for the confidence you have in me and for always supporting me in everything that I do. Professor Lakshman, the Dean of my faculty, Professor Kapila, my long-standing friend since I was a student counselor. Professor Chandana, again a very good friend. I know him since I was a probation lecturer. I take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Madhu for coming here as guest speaker. Thank you so much, my dear friend. Thank you, Sudat, for all the help that you have given me by being present here today. I know how busy you are. I am ever so grateful for your presence. It means a lot to me. I also wish to thank Mr. Anhas for designing the book and Mr. Godage for helping me publish the book. I take this opportunity to thank my good friends, Dr. Appa and Dr. Madhava, for the support and encouragement given to me. I take this opportunity to also thank all the colleagues at the ELTU for supporting me and helping me in various ways. A special thank you to Hasita, Raj, Husiru, Takshila and Tilina. Finally, I wish to thank my young and very witty boss, Maheshi, for championing the poetry reading and thoroughly enjoying it. Thank you, Venerable Sutadara and Lal Madhavattegedara. For the blurbs, thank you so very much. A very special thank you goes out to all my friends, Dr. Vivi, Dilini, Rushira, for being here with me today. Thank you. Last but not least, I thank my family for supporting me all the way. I thank all those who have bought my book. If you have made all my writing efforts worthwhile. Thank you.
Reverend sirs, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's event, and Prof. Dilkushi Senaratne invites all of you to refreshments, which is arranged in the upstairs classroom in the LTU, and have a very good day.